them envy. Let's make them irresistibly viral, okay? Irresistibly viral felt like a lot to ask from an article on lunch. At 3:30, I put my overworked, underperforming first paragraph aside and told the cats I'd be back in an hour, Lord willing that Miss Gloria allowed me to drive home. If the Lord didn't will that, I couldn't promise anything. By the time I fast-walked from Houseboat Row to the Francis Street entrance of the cemetery, I was sweaty and hot, which meant my face had to be its most unattractive tomato red. I took a selfie on my phone and texted it to my trainer, Lee, as proof of my aerobic exertion. She had been on the money last week when she pointed out that my fitness program had lots of room for improvement. Increasing your walking from 0 miles per week to any positive number would be good, she'd said, snapping her iPad shut with a flourish. The Key West Cemetery sits in the center of the island on its highest point, where it was moved after the hurricane of 1846 washed the graves and bodies into the Atlantic Ocean. Because of the tight space on this island, many of the burials are now handled in above-ground crypts, which makes for an interesting and spooky landscape. That, along with some interesting inhabitants, makes the cemetery one of the biggest tourist attractions on the island. I'd put off agreeing to this tour for as long as I could. It's not that cemeteries scare me exactly. It's that the idea of people dying makes me sad, especially people like Miss Gloria, who's probably closer to that transition than most of the people I know. I love her like a grandmother, only more so because she's a friend, so our relationship is free from the baggage that family relationships can hold. And now here she was, training to be a volunteer guide at the cemetery, where the radio station would play all dead people all the time. She was waiting for me at the gate, positively vibrating with excitement. "How much time do we have?" she asked. "I've learned so much. I'd like to tell you all of it." I laughed. I have to be at the city commission meeting by 6 o'clock sharp, and I definitely need something to eat before. The commissioners have a reputation for running hot and late. So let's say half an hour? She straightened her shoulders, the serious expression on her lined face at odds with her cheerful yellow sweatshirt, which featured sweet bunnies nibbling on flowers. "In that case, maybe we'll start in the Catholic part of the cemetery, since it's closest." She pushed her glasses up the bridge of her nose. The hinge at the left temple, still held together with silver duct tape, caught on a clump of white hair. She had gotten the lens replaced after it was crushed in the scuffle last December, but she refused to spring for new frames. "I like old things," she'd said, laughing. "They go with me." She waved me forward. "So we'll start on the right. Then we can work our way around the edges, and I won't forget where we left off." "How long are the tours you'll be giving once you're finished with your training?" I mopped my face with my sleeve and paused in the scanty shade of a coconut palm. "It depends if it's a special event. In that case, I could be here 2 hours. But most tourists don't have that kind of attention span. They want to see the gravestone that says, 'I told you I was sick,' and maybe the double murder-suicide grave." "The double murder-suicide?" "Yes," she nodded enthusiastically. "He shot her and then killed himself. And the poor woman is stuck in the same gravesite with him for eternity. What's up with that?" "Somebody with a sick sense of humor made that decision," I said. "Though Eric always says you never know what's going on in a marriage unless you're living in that space. I guess it's possible that she drove him to it?" "My childhood friend Eric is a psychologist and, besides that, the most sensible man I know." She cleared her throat and started to speak in a serious public radio kind of voice. "Okay, in this right-hand corner that runs along Francis and Angela Streets, you will find the Catholic cemetery." Miss Gloria wove through the mossy stones, pointing out the plot for the Gatto family, prominent in cigar manufacturing days. The English family plot, honoring school principal James English and his father, Nelson, Key West's first and only African-American postmaster, and a gravestone reading.